All right. It's now 11 o'clock, so we're going to start rolling. As I said a few minutes ago, this is Cindy Blaine with California ReLeaf, and with me today I have Laura Forlin with Merritt College, Andrew Misch with Davey Tree Expert Company, Andrew Trotter with West Coast Arborist. And the way that the day is going to roll out is we're going to do introductions, and then each of the speakers is going to give a brief overview of their programs. Then we're going to have like a panel discussion or conversation with questions that I set up earlier and that we've also kind of discussed as well in our prep meeting. Then we're going to take questions from the audience via the questions feature. That's why I was referring to that. So remember to do it via questions versus chat, because I think that's the best way to keep track of them. With everybody so wrapped up in the coronavirus, we might not have as many people, so we should be able to get through all the questions. But if not, do type your questions in, because if we don't get to them, we will have a record of them and we'll be able to respond via email to all of the attendees afterwards that way. So, next slide. So today we have Andrew Misch with Davey, Laura Forlin with Merritt College, and Andy Trotter. We're not going to go exactly in the order of the pictures. We're gonna have Laura go first to talk about the program at Merritt College, which is how part of the reason I got involved in all this is because I was talking to Laura back then. And I'm really not going to do formal introductions. Laura's been with Merritt College a long time. I met her way back when I was at Sacramento Tree Foundation. And I want her to tell you about how she set up the partnership, the unique partnership that she set up at Merritt College with the arborists and the program that is happening. So Laura, turning it over to you.
Okay, fantastic. Good morning, everybody. So yeah, as Cindy said, we've known each other for some time, and we developed this. It's actually a 2-year degree program with some stackable certificates that was launched actually 2 years ago. We're just finishing up the first 2 years of the program, and the program came about because we had industry folks coming up and saying TCIA, local industry, Arborwell, Davey, saying that we don't have enough skilled employees and we really need the community colleges to step up and develop programs for training. So that was how we got pulled into it. And I think I can go through the slides, maybe.
Yeah, I should have given you I shared the keyboard control with you.
And do you want me to go? I'll just go through these briefly. Let's see, I don't think I have control yet.
Well,
it's okay. Do you want to just scroll through, Cindy?
Sure. Okay. Next one. Just say next. We'll do it the old-fashioned way.
Please, next. So anyway, here's my contact information. If you have questions about anything that we've talked about today, anything about the program, email is the best way, but you can also reach me by phone. Next. So this is what we ended up developing in consultation with industry. I mean, I would say our industry partners were essential for building these programs. And what we did is we had multiple meetings. We talked to all of the industry folks about the skills and knowledge base that they felt like the students coming out of a program like ours should have. And then we built the programs and developed new courses based on that feedback from the industry. So we ended up with these, a tree care specialist certificate could be completed in 1 year, 21 units, a tree climber specialist certificate, that would take 2 years, total of 41 units. And then if you wanted to get the AS degree, you would just do all of those 41 units that are required in the tree climber specialist certificate plus general education. Okay, next. I won't spend too much time right now talking about the specifics, but certainly you'll have access to these. These are all the courses that are required for that tree care specialist certificate. I will just say that this certificate was established for somebody that, say, wanted to work in the plant healthcare side of the industry, or maybe doing tree inventories, but not somebody who necessarily wanted to be a climbing arborist. Although all of the industry folks suggested that it would be really important to have at least one climbing class as part of this, just so people at least understand the equipment. Okay, next. And then this would be for that 2-year tree climber specialist. And this was really geared for somebody who would come in and do actual work in the trees. And it would take 2 years. And all of these courses, these core courses from the Hort department, plus general ed, is what would be needed for the degree. And that, I guess, the next slide, Cindy. So that's just again, just what I just said. And then next. So just a little bit of the statistics, and we can talk more about this. We've had 91 students taking classes in the program over the last 2 years, and about a third of those students identify as female. I don't have data yet on degrees and certificates awarded, but I can say that of those 91 students, a minimum of 14, and I suspect this is higher because we haven't gotten great self-reporting. At least 14 have either gotten full-time employment as they've been going through the program, or had an increase in job skills, increased job skills for higher wages. Okay, next. And then just a few pictures from some of the courses. These are the climbing courses. Next. This is, again, field classes. We've got right now on the books, we have 3 semesters of climbing courses, basically building on the previous skills. Next. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And everybody's, you know where to type in your questions, but now we're going to continue on. And I want to introduce Andrew Misch with the Davey Tree Expert Company, Davey Resource Group, who's the recruiting manager here on the West Coast. And again, I've known Andrew for several years. He was out here working with us at California ReLeaf when we first started getting into this. And I think Andrew was one of the most the story that was the most interesting to me was when he said that he was interested in tree work, and then he went up climbing in a tree and he fell in love with climbing in trees. So Andrew, take her away.
Hey, thank you, Cindy. Yeah, my name is Andrew Misch, with Davey Tree Expert Company, and also representing the Davey Resource Group. For those of you that haven't met me or we have met, please definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love making new connections in the tree industry out here. I've been in California for about 5 years now. My journey in tree care actually started in Chicago back in maybe 2013. I finished a bachelor's degree in environmental management from Indiana University, and at the time it was really challenging to find a meaningful career. We were kind of on the tail end of the recession, and a lot of employers really hadn't opened up in hiring yet. And Davey was, hiring like crazy. Even in my first, 6 to 8 weeks with Davey, I think I logged like an average of 15 hours of overtime. I started as a plant healthcare technician, and actually, as Cindy said, really fell in love with climbing. Ended up being a tree care foreman in Chicago. I became a certified arborist, and winter of 2015, I found myself up in a bucket truck on the south side of Chicago with about a 30-degree wind chill, coming in off Lake Michigan at me, and I at the same time was looking at all these dead ash trees from the EIB, and it was like there's got to be a better place to do tree work. And I kind of circulated my name as interested, and an opportunity to become a recruiter on the West Coast popped up. So at this point, I'm celebrating my 7th year anniversary with Davey, and my 6th year as an employee owner. So a lot of people know, from seeing our trucks that Davey's been around since 1880. We're celebrating our 140th year in business, but I think the bigger deal right now is that we're celebrating our 41st year of employee ownership. So I'm proud to count myself as one of our employee owners. Currently at this time, I lead a team with direct accountability for filling at any given time about 150 open jobs for Davey between Omaha, Nebraska and Honolulu, Hawaii. And about 30 to 40% of those, are usually in California with probably about maybe as much as 25% or so being right in the Bay Area and the Northern California region. So, Cindy, I don't think I have control right now. Can you flip to the next slide, please? There we go. So I want to double back really quick and just hit on the topic of employee ownership at Davey. I've got some slides here, or some pictures here on the slide of some different projects and tasks and trainings that we've done over the last year. These are all employee owners at Davey. One of the really unique things about us is it's not just managers and executives that are eligible to become employee owners. After becoming an employee, you're immediately eligible to buy stock, and as an added incentive, after a year of service, you're eligible to buy stock at a 15% discount off of face value. And if you don't want to buy stock, we'll also give you stock as part of your 401k match if you choose to participate in that. So there's multiple avenues, and again, it's open to everyone from entry-level grounds people and landscaping technicians all the way up to our managers and executives. We really encourage participation in the ESOP plan. And I want to talk a little bit about on my next slide here, who we're looking for as far as future employees. So, Davey and the tree care industry in general can be kind of confusing to outsiders sometimes. So I found it really helpful to kind of bucket things out into three categories. Really, with all of those jobs that we're trying to fill here on the West Coast, they could fall into any one of these three buckets. So anywhere from entry level, we're really looking for landscape technicians or ground workers, people that are going to function as a labor on the crew and keep the machine running, either for helping to get equipment or dragging brush or maintaining a chipper or something like that. And again, we're really targeting someone at that point that maybe they're just a few years out of high school, or, they're looking to make a career change, or maybe they've taken a class or two over at Merritt College, but they're not quite ready to jump into tree care as a full-time career at that point. Our next bucket would be what we're calling technical experts. And this could be anyone from a tree climber, a plant healthcare technician, a crew leader, a foreman like I was when I decided to make my move out to California. And then even on the higher end of the spectrum there, consulting arborists and foresters. And I would say, as far as jobs we're looking for, this is the bulk of people that we're looking for at any given time. Someone that has maybe worked for us as a ground worker for a year or two might want to transition into becoming a climber trainee or a plant healthcare technician trainee. Someone that's maybe completed a certificate at Merritt College would have the background to come in as a climber trainee, a PhD technician trainee, and then as they move up the ladder, they get on the job training and work through our career development program. They'd start getting to a position where they're expected to lead and mentor, other entry-level employees or junior employees below them. And, as you start gaining more credentials, a 2-year degree, your certified arborist credential, a CTSB, certified tree care safety professional, you may become eligible for a consulting arborist position, writing tree risk assessment reports and helping stakeholders understand, what's going on with their trees. Or you might become eligible for a management track position. So that could be anything from a sales arborist or a business developer that's working either with residential clients, municipal clients, or other large landowners to, identify their needs and solutions. or even, you know, a management trainee or a work planner, you know, that's out there routing crews and plant healthcare technicians and really focused on the day-to-day operations of the business. So the last thing that everyone asks me after I kind of give the spiel on what jobs we're looking for is how can I apply? So on our next slide here, I've got a screenshot of our website, jobs.davey.com, and I just did a quick search and a back of the envelope highlighter and red pen circle here. So I just searched jobs that are open right now in California, and we've got 3 pages of them. It works out to about 51 different jobs, and just from the search that's popping up right there, you can see we've got quite a bit of a footprint in Northern California, from Ukiah all the way down to Fairfield. We've got a few positions, you know, in Oakland and similar. And if you were to scroll through the pages, you'll see positions as far south as San Diego. So again, the easiest way to get a job with us or to get in touch with a recruiter is to simply fill an application out and you know, submit your information, and we'll be in touch as we review it. But, you know, if you're not ready to make the commitment yet, I've also got my next slide up here, which is a little bit easier way to share some info with Davey, and maybe just start getting some email notifications from us or a phone call from a recruiter. So if you've got your cell phone on you, you can just pull it out, and you can shoot us a text message at 91385 and just type in the word job. It doesn't matter if it's lowercase or capital, just JOB. And we'll send you a link to just put some info in. And, you know, at that point, we'll add you into our communications and potentially reach out to you if you share some more info about your background and what you're seeking. So, you know, again, probably the best way to get in touch with a recruiter. You know, we definitely have print media and bulletins as well to share this. If anyone out there is interested in kind of sharing more Davey information with any of the groups or stakeholders you work with. So thank you very much, Cindy. Appreciated the opportunity to be here and the effort you're going through to put this together.
Thank you, Andrew. And so we're going to continue on. Interesting. Okay, cool. And then Andy Trotter is going to be our final speaker before we get into the discussion. Andy has been with West Coast Arborist for a long time. He's also a member of the California ReLeaf Board, and we really appreciate his support as we've done more work with jobs and trying to make a connection between all the trees that we're planting in urban areas in California and the fact that those trees need jobs. So, Andy, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you talk about, one other thing I wanted to bring up real quick before is that I believe that there is also a little bit of a distinction as far as the types of tree care jobs that Davey does versus West Coast Arborist. So, Andrew Misch, I kind of thought that Davey did more residential. Is that correct?
Well, Cindy, we're organized into 4 separate service lines. So we have one business that does strictly residential tree care. We have a second that does utility line clearance consulting for, you know, public and investor utilities. We have a commercial landscape division. So, for instance, we mow the lawn over at you know, the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado and Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, as well as the Presidio right here in San Francisco. And then we've also got a consulting division, the Davey Resource Group, that does a little bit more policy and planning and assessment for different municipalities.
Okay, consulting for municipalities. Okay, and then that's a great segue into Andy, who does do a lot of work with municipalities as far as tree care goes. So Andy, please take it away, and we'll do it the old-fashioned way and just tell me next when you're ready to move forward.
Sounds great. Thanks, Cindy. Yes, I've been at West Coast Arborist 38 years now, and the company's been in business we're closing in on 48 years. Our company is focused on working for public agencies and municipalities primarily in California. And we are also have a pretty big foothold right now in the Phoenix Valley area. I've enjoyed the career path I've had here at West Coast Arborist, and started as a a trimmer, then a foreman, and today I'm in charge of the field operations for the company. Next slide, please. So how to get a hold of us? The easiest way to apply for a job is just to go to westcoastarborist.com. Applications are there. The interesting thing with our company is when I started, there was probably about 50 or 60 employees. And this year we were almost 1,000 employees. So there's been a huge amount of growth potential within the individual employees. So we kind of focus a lot on bringing people along at entry level and then progressing, where they can move from ground worker to tree trimmer to crew leader to different levels of management. We also enjoy people that come in with more formal education background. They're going to help us a whole lot in some of the new divisions and departments that we have in the company, whether it's plant healthcare or leadership skills. A lot of times our employees, if they grow up through the field, maybe don't have that leadership training experience. So we do a whole lot of training also on leadership skills. But if people come from a formal university or college background, that's another place where they can get a lot of that experience as well. I like what I hear at Merritt College because it's blending together the college curriculum and the appreciation for the field skills, which are super important if I'm going to be a leader in this industry to appreciate and know how the field tasks work. We are a member of the LIUNA Laborers Union, and so we're proud to offer that benefit package to our employees these days. It's been a huge increase in wages for the employees over the last few years, as well as benefits. Next. These are just some different action photos that are typical of crews out there pruning work. Looks like the far right picture shows guys that are doing utility work. Tree removal is very common practice, obviously, that we're doing, as well as just pruning a downtown tree, top left corner there. It's a beautiful oak tree, and I particularly enjoy that picture because of the big redwood slab tables that are part of a community gathering area there in downtown Morgan Hill. Next. We've been doing a lot of plant healthcare, especially over the last 5 years. We've grown a lot of our resources in that area. So we now have plant healthcare advisors and applicators on staff, and that's an area that's a big growth for our company. The center picture there shows our plant healthcare advisor doing a tree risk, education program with supervisors and field supervisors to strengthen their background. Next. The bigger picture on the left shows an interesting part of our company, and actually all of these pictures are related to our grants team, which is working with community-based people on proper tree planting, helping communities get more resources, money for planting of trees. And so it's another fun area that we've had a lot of younger people with college backgrounds join our team over the last 3 or 4 years here, and it's an expanding part of our company. So planting trees for the future and educating community members is core to what we do. So we really appreciate the work that our grants team has done. Next. One of my more personally exciting parts of our business is, recycling urban trees into lumber. And I've probably been doing it as a hobbyist basis for over 30 years, but in the last few years, we've started a program called Street Tree Revival. And we now have a dozen employees that are working out of Stockton and Ontario and Anaheim that are producing lumber anytime we see a tree that could possibly be removed that is wood potential. We try to save it, and we have wood sort yards where we identify those trees and set them aside. And We have about 4 different sawmills working these days, along with other support equipment. The most exciting fruition of that program currently is they're now making guitars out of trees that get removed with Taylor Guitar out there. So been a lot of fun trying to repurpose something. And I think that program's helped our whole company focus a whole lot more on recycling everything that we do from the job site. So great adventure, just starting to take off in that direction. Next. So the core to what we do here is training employees and helping them advance. We do a whole lot to help, like I said earlier, entry-level employees, but really employees that start at any different level. We have full-time training managers and supervisors that focus on training, and a whole system that allows us to share that kind of training company-wide through internet-based, clearinghouses. Doing all of our in-house qualifications. We call them key achievements. And so anytime a person gets a key achievement, they can also, get a wage increase, things like Class B license, certified tree worker. We actually have the most certified tree workers of any company in the world right now. And ISA certified arborists, we're real proud to boast that we have over 80 certified arborists in our company. So really, as long as the employee shows an initiative, we're here to help them grow. And there's many stories I could share about employees that started at the ground worker level and are now regional managers for the company. So we're certainly looking for anybody that's motivated and interested in our industry to join our team and have that opportunity for growth. I believe that might be my last slide.
Let me just go back to the beginning.
You're muted.
Let me just go back. And at this point, thank you all very much for the quick introduction on what you do. Now we have a couple questions. I have a couple questions that I want to get things started on, and then we'll open it up for more questions. We're right at 11:30, so we've got another half an hour to have more of a discussion based. I'm going to kick it off actually just with one question that came up on the questions bar right now. And all of the speakers should be verbally able to speak here. But Turnell asked, what's the best skill I should have to do tree climbing? Because we've just shown all those great tree climbing pictures. What do y'all think?
Well, the first thing is some training so that you are safe out there. And so to get those skills, it's pretty broad, but you need to be tied in with somebody like Merritt College or via a work job training program. Learning without having that guidance can certainly take longer and have a lot of potential safety and outcome issues.
Andrew?
Absolutely agreed. I think the biggest thing to stress with tree climbers is having some sort of documented and formal training. And another thing to consider as well is the instructor that is training you. What's their background? What kind of certifications do they have? Do they have a teaching background? There's a kind of a cottage industry growing right now around tree care training and certifications. And, I would encourage anyone to vet anything they're going to do. I would say, vet your trainer as well.
Okay, cool. So that way we've answered the question that had popped up on the screen, but getting back to some of the other things that we wanted to talk about. Laura, I wanted to start with you because it was really interesting to me to have you start the program at Merritt College, and I know that you talked about the partnership with the tree care companies a bit, but what exactly spurred you to start this? Was it because the tree care companies came to you, or what was it?
Well, I would say it was a combination of things. So I, as part of my graduate work up at Davis, I worked with Center for Urban Forestry Research. So I came with an interest in the tree just tree work, tree industry in general. I'm also a certified arborist, so I knew when I started teaching here at Merritt full time, it was something we offered an arboriculture class. We offered some pruning classes, but I knew it was something that I was interested in developing. But it really, I think the push to develop the program really did come externally, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of effort to build programs and to develop curriculum and to push those all the way to get approval all the way through the state. So I think it was a combination, my general interest, but also really the industry side, nonprofits like, you know, California ReLeaf and TCIA providing, I would say, the support really to develop the program. I think that was the final impetus.
Okay, cool. And we've already talked a little bit about the fact that some of them are finding jobs while in school or after they finish it. Does everybody want to climb trees that's coming through your program?
No, it's a great question. So we have, I mean, again, I would say that our program is a lot of folks coming in from previous careers. So it might be older, you know, I mean like 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, with some young students as well. But there are a number of students who are saying, boy, I want to get the degree, but I don't necessarily want to take all of the climbing classes. I don't necessarily want to come out and be a climber. I might want to be a consulting arborist. So it's definitely this feedback that we're gathering now, and I'm starting to look at ways to kind of tweak the curriculum and the programs to maybe have to tweak them so we have different degrees that lead to different job paths, right? Or it could be degrees or certificates that lead to specific job paths. So yeah, no, not everybody wants to climb.
Cool. And so then that's going to lead me to my next question, which is, and what about women in the field? Because, you know, everybody's impression it's mostly men sometimes.
Yeah, no, and I think it would be interesting also to hear from Andrew and Andy. We certainly, about a third of the students so far are identifying as female. So we're definitely seeing a lot of interest in women going into the field, and they're getting hired. So I don't think that there's a barrier. There might be some barriers in places, but that's not what I'm hearing from our students and from our women students that are getting jobs. I don't know, Andrew and Andy, are you seeing a bit of a shift?
We'd probably like to see more. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, I think we're seeing a major shift even in the last few years here. I mean, Laura, I think of the students that we've hired out of the Merritt program, at least 3 of them identified as female.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, certainly a pretty remarkable, you know, percentage. And then, I mean, thinking kind of zooming out with some of the other colleges that we partner with, I think enrollment is starting to tilt in that direction. I mean, 30 to 50%, you know, female enrollment at colleges is the norm now, right? And I think
yes, definitely.
If that's the labor pool that we're developing, it's certainly, you know, it's something we have to be cognizant of and adapt to.
Andy?
Yeah, I'd say in the field jobs like the ground workers and the tree climbers, we have very few. We would certainly like more. We simply don't get a ton of applicants in that area. We do have a pretty steady flow of females in support roles, including, you know, not just like office type jobs, but I just recently hired a gal a young woman who had a, you know, background in plant science and also had a climbing certificate and worked for the CCCs. And she started working for us a couple of weeks ago and has hit the ground running. So a lot of good energy coming from women in arboriculture, and we're looking for more of it.
Cool. And I think the other thing that I want to chime in with, and then I'm going to ask some of the questions that have popped up online. One time, I think it was at a Merritt College meeting that I attended, Chad Bry, who's like a champion climber with A+ Trees, said that it was wonderful to have women as climbers, because it's not, sometimes you think, oh, you have to be kind of a muscly person to go up in a tree, but that's not it at all. And that women are very strategic when they go through the tree, and that I'm not a ropes expert here, but it seemed to me that it's not just like pulling yourself up by your biceps. There's a lot more technique and finesse to it than that, so that it is something that's viable for women, right?
I would agree.
Definitely. I mean, I also think that there's like great new equipment, like there's ascenders that, you know, because I would say in general, women probably don't have as much upper body strength, but because of some of the new equipment coming on, I think it sort of levels the playing field a bit.
Also, Cindy, you hit the nail on the head when you said finesse. You know, our old school guy approach to things is, you know, big muscle, push it over, whatever. And a lot of times finesse is a better solution than just brute strength.
Okay, we've had a couple comments on that some women are having a hard time getting hired, and then also can a certificate from Merritt College stand in for years of experience? You know, some job postings require X years of climbing experience, and can seem closed to people that are maybe coming through the program.
Oh, well, let me just speak briefly to the years of experience. So in terms of, let's say, sitting for an ISA arborist exam to get that certification, you do need, depending on your whether or not you have a degree, it really, you have to have degrees in order and experience in order to sit for that exam. But in terms of jobs, I think Andrew and Andy probably can speak more to that.
You know, for me, the university or the college experience is going to help you move more quickly through the system. It may not replace the field experience, but it might help you accelerate through the steps, because you're going to have a better holistic understanding of how trees work and how the industry works and some of the basic job skills. So I wouldn't think it could replace it, but it might. I'm always interested when I'm hiring somebody with a background like that. And if they can, you know, fulfill the duties out in the field, I think they're going to move more quickly through the system for advancement.
Yeah, I'll definitely echo Andy's sentiment there. I think we try to take a holistic approach to assessing talent. So, you know, from a Merritt College perspective, someone that's taken maybe one or two classes is probably going to come in closer to our entry level, you know, tracks as a grounds person or a landscape technician. But, you know, someone that's completed you know, is maybe fresh out of high school but has completed a certificate is more qualified to become a trainee, climber trainee, versus someone that maybe has some climbing experience and completed their associate's degree would be well qualified to, you know, become a crew leader or a foreman, you know, someone that's supervising and teaching others, right? And, you know, I can think of at least one Merritt College student that has a bachelor's degree from a former career, and you know, they're slotting more into a management, a sales track, you know, based on not only their time at Merritt College, but, you know, also their previous experience and work experience they bring to the table. So it's hard to put a one size fits all rule on it, but you know, I again try to reference back to those three buckets of candidates in a holistic approach.
And then another question that came up, which is a little bit different, is someone is interested in becoming a consulting arborist or plant healthcare specialist. So if you want to do that, do you have to work in a field or climbing position first, or can other tree-related work experience qualify the candidate to get started at Davey or West Coast Arborist? And I think you're saying yes, but I want to double check.
Yeah, absolutely. I think other work experience can definitely qualify them, but when we think of what a consulting arborist does every day, they're essentially performing risk assessments, and one of the things that I think we struggle with is if you haven't seen enough trees fail, it gets really hard to to put a report together predicting that a tree is going to fail. So I certainly think there's a combination of ways to get that experience, and one of the easiest ways is classroom knowledge, and another easy way I think is rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty, so to speak. I used to tell people when I was a foreman, when we're doing a removal or a mitigation job on a storm damaged tree, you're essentially doing an autopsy on that tree, right? You're cutting it apart, you're looking at the wood fibers and other coated features, and learning about why that tree might have failed. Additionally, when you're maybe a little shy about getting in a tree and you're running a branch through a chipper and really seeing how it holds up to thousands of pounds of hydraulic pressure, it gives you a sense for how remarkable trees can be, in reacting to different forces in their environment. So, again, Cindy, I think it's that holistic approach. It's classroom experience and practical experience.
Cool, thank you. And Andy, thoughts? Any thoughts?
I pretty much concur with that. I've certainly have plenty of people that are in, like, say, plant healthcare that, my advisor never worked on a field crew, but he independently does field work, and so, but what Andrew said about seeing trees fail and having those experiences in the field adds great value. So the best answer is a combination. You don't have to get as deep into it, but having the field experience is super helpful. Having the education experience helps understand the big picture.
Cool. I have a bunch of questions, but I also have questions popping up that I think are really good. So I want to ask those as so I'm just going to interweave here. We just got a question, which is cool. It's about providing internship opportunities for students just graduating high school or in college and considering an arborist degree. Are you offering internship programs to people at that age or at any age?
So speaking from, go ahead, Andy.
But we'll hire anybody over 18.
Andy, why don't you go first this time?
We'll hire anybody over 18 years with whatever background they got, if for one position or another. So internship is not necessarily a formal program at WCA, but we do hire people that are in college or going to college. We have a lot of employees that, while they're working here, go back to school in order to further themselves as well. So we don't have a formal intern program, but we definitely support the the formal education with our employees.
Cool. Andrew?
Yes, we offer an internship program with Davey in the Western United States. It usually shakes out to about 30 positions, per year. With this year, I think something like 12 in California. They're paid positions, but with that said, they're also very competitive. So, I would expect that the majority of our applicants usually have some education, be it 2 or 4 year degree in forestry, plant science, urban forestry, something like that. We do once in a while see high school students apply for those and interview, but again, with 30 positions, it does get competitive. So I would say the best candidates probably have some additional education on top of high school. With that said, we're always open to interviewing people for other positions, seasonal or full-time positions right out of high school too.
And one other question is, how interested are your companies in encouraging your employees to join the Merritt College program to speed up their promotion track? How interested? And so Andrew, why don't you go ahead and answer that one, and then we'll switch over to Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. So on our end, we've got an internal career development program, and it's probably no secret that demand for tree care in California is at same levels right now. So, I think from our manager's perspective, we definitely encourage everyone to follow the internal pathways first. Sometimes they may have a little bit of extra overtime, and they find that hard to balance with in-person instruction. So I would say, as a rule of thumb, we're more interested in hiring graduates as they come out of Merritt College, be it a couple classes, a certificate, or a 2-year degree, and we'd like to holistically slot them into our career pipeline from there.
All right, and Andy, thank you.
So whether it's Merritt College or another college, whenever an employee wants to further their background, if it applies to the work they're doing for us, we look at it as a key achievement and a wage review and increase. So we have plenty of employees that we're trying to mold for more advanced positions, and if they want to go to any university and take courses that support what we're doing, we do recognize those.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is, as far as other programs, the other one that we also know about that's also, and by the way, the contact information for Andy and Andrew and Laura is all on the California ReLeaf website under Green Jobs. You can just, we got a little search box up at the top. I think it's under resources, but you can just Google Green Jobs on our website, and it'll pull up their contact information, as well as the contact information for the program down at Mount SAC in Southern California, where they have a slightly different program. It's an 18-credit urban forestry program, and they also have contacts that they couldn't attend today for this meeting, but that is another possibility for people in Southern California. I'm just double checking other questions over here, but I'd like to pop back. Again, one of the reasons why we started doing this at California ReLeaf is because a lot of the nonprofits work with middle schoolers and high schoolers and even college students. And so we wanted to be able to share the information that these jobs are available, because not every kid wants to go to college, right? Not every kid wants to sit behind a desk at a job. So my question is, how do you believe the nonprofits can help you spread this word, and what would you encourage the nonprofits to do to help you?
I would say just let people know the jobs are out there and encourage them to apply at any level, at any starting point. And if they feel like they want to go through more of a college direction first, that's great. We're certainly available still to talk to them and encourage them what would be most helpful. But if I'm not a person that went to college. The only one in my family who didn't, because I just wanted to get out there and do things. Eventually I took a lot of classes, became certified arborist and plenty of other credentials. Probably kicked myself for not completing the college degree, but it still didn't inhibit, my growth opportunity in the field. So best thing you can do is apply and get involved. We're all here to help you.
Yeah, I would also add for, especially for high school students, because they can also take college courses at the community college while they're in high school. But they could sign up to take one of our climbing classes or our pruning class or the arboriculture class, just to get a feel for the industry. I think it's a great way just to get out there and see if this is the kind of work that you think you might want to do.
Andrew,
yeah, I think that's I was going to say, I think that's a great idea, Laura. I think from the immediate impact, I also agree with Andy. For anyone that's looking for a job, definitely just apply on our website. We'd love to take an application, and and learn more about you. I'm not sure if San Diego Urban Corps is on the phone or not, but we just set up a feed last week so that their career coordinator, Brenda, can get a monthly update of kind of relevant jobs in San Diego and direct people that way. So if anyone on the call is interested, I'm more than happy to facilitate that, or any other, tech solution to help get our jobs in front of you. But I think definitely, education's the key, and we're interested in people that are willing to invest in themselves. So, taking a class, getting a certificate or getting a degree definitely goes a long way. And again, thinking of kind of our free buckets there, the education and experience is definitely going to help you, position yourself instead of maybe becoming a groundman or an entry-level employee, coming in directly as a climate trainee that makes a little bit higher wage.
And just because I think it's really helpful, we've seen various charts at various points, and what is the starting wage these days in California for somebody? And I guess, we all talk about people paying their dues, quote unquote, dragging brush, which would be, I guess, the starting job. But what would be entry-level position wages so that people have a sense, and are there benefits, et cetera?
Sure. Over on the Davey
Go ahead,
side.
Andrew. Go ahead.
Sorry, Andy. I've got to have it.
My fault. Switch it over to Andy.
All right. Okay. Sorry. At West Coast Arborist, we're starting just below $20 an hour. It varies depending on the geographic area. That's for an entry-level ground worker. It also includes about $8 an hour worth of benefits, full medical coverage, pension, vacation and holiday pay are the primary benefits from LIUNA. And some areas of the state, it's $10 an hour higher than that. The different positions vary. So the range for trimmers is more like $20 an hour and up, and foremen or crew leaders, the $30 plus or minus range. But it does, the Bay Area is the highest wage of any area in the company. And it just depends a little bit on the prevailing wage for that area.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, and on the Davey side, we're in a similar position. As I mentioned, we do commercial landscaping in California, and those positions will start in the $17 an hour range. Once you get into the entry-level tree care side, as a grounds person, you're looking at a minimum wage of about $20 an hour in the state of California, and our wages parallel Andy's there up to crew leaders that are in the $30 an hour range. So, when you think in terms of yearly salary with some overtime on there, they're making a very comfortable living. We also offer full benefits of, health, vision, and dental. A nice part of Davey's health plan is if you participate in a couple of wellness incentives. So that includes a biometric screening with your doctor every year, and additionally, if you sign a non-smoking, non-tobacco use pledge, you get a pretty hefty discount on your insurance premium. So, again, we invest in those who invest in themselves. And then last but not least, our best benefit, again, is that employee ownership plan, either purchasing stock directly or through your 401k, where we offer a match for retirement.
Cool. What's the biometrics?
It's a fancy way of saying a physical, a yearly physical with your doctor.
Okay. All right. And I guess one of the other questions I wanted to ask was for all three of you, really, because you're all interested in the tree care, but was there one particular experience in tree care that made you say, this is the career for me? Was there some breakthrough? And Laura, why don't we start with you on that one?
Yeah, it was actually one of my probably first month on the job. I was working for Davey in South Chicago, and we were going out to take down a massive dead bur oak tree. And you know, I was on a crew at this point. I mean, I was just right behind the ears. And we left the yard with, I think, about $500,000 in equipment, you know, including a 21-ton crane and a, you know, 22-inch chipper with a grapple on the back, and you know, an elevator bucket truck and all this stuff. And there were, you know, 4 of us on the crew. And we get there, and there's this massive bur oak. It spreads 3 backyards, and there's no access other than the small driveway to get the bucket truck in. And, you know, we drive the crane on the yard, and you know, the 4 of us took this giant tree down, you know, in the matter of like 3.5 hours. Just impeccable communication, and it was like kind of watching a ballet. You know, and that had me hooked. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Huh. Much as a tree, you know, as a tree planting organization, we don't want to hear about trees coming down, but we all recognize that.
Well, when
yeah.
they're dead, yeah.
Yeah, when they're dead, yeah. And the fact that you could even get to the backyard to take such a big thing out, pretty amazing. Cool.
I mean, it was a just hazardous thing to be doing, you know, and the way that we pulled it off was, you know, effortless.
Huh. Well, Andy, what about you?
I don't know if there's a single moment. You know, I'm again this person that didn't quite chase down the pathway of the education route. Both my parents had master's degrees. Both my siblings got their college degrees, and I wandered a little bit. I love the outdoors. And so for lack of better focus, I ended up in tree care. When I was really young, I used to do a lot of yard work. And we're talking age 13, 14, I found out that doing tree work paid me about 3 times as much as pulling weeds. And so I kind of continued down that pathway. But through the time, there's been lots of enriching opportunities that have kept me in the industry and got me more motivated with the industry. You know, being part of crews that have good resources like Andrew's talking about definitely is motivating, and being part of a machine like that to be able to, you know, get the job done, so to speak. But I think one of the main pivotal points for myself was when one of my customers asked me to participate in the California Urban Forest Council. And when I started doing that, I started learning more about our industry and realizing what a cool place trees were in the whole community, and the whole, you know, environmental package that came with tree care. It really inspired me a whole lot, and has inspired a lot of the work that I've done in the 30 years since I started with the Urban Forest Council.
Cool. Well, we have covered all the questions that have come in, and we're at 2 minutes before the hour. Laura, did you have any final words to say? And then I'll offer the same thing to Andrew and Andy, final words. Otherwise, I think we've covered a lot of ground and some really cool stories. And all of this will be available on our website via a link, and that link will be sent to everybody who signed up for this. But Laura, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, just if anybody has questions about the program, feel free to give me a call, to email me. I'm happy to answer questions, just tell you about what courses we're offering, sequence so far, you know, just anything about the program, please reach out. That's it. Thank you.
All right. And Andrew, final thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely encourage everyone to check out jobs.davey.com. There's a wealth of opportunity in this industry, and not just with Davey. And certainly for anyone that I don't know, or, you know, we should get to know each other, check me out on LinkedIn and add me. I'm pretty responsive on there. Sometimes it's a little faster to get to me that way than it is through my cell phone or my inbox even. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andy?
Well, trees make communities a better place to live, and so it's a cool industry to be a part of. And we're excited to hire people to start that career pathway. So please contact us.
That's right. And then I'll just close with the thought that, you know, part of the reason for having the network is that this is a way for you to know people's names, their faces, and as I've long said, everybody in this urban forest sector is incredibly friendly. So please do take them up on calling them. And if you have any other questions, you want to call us at California Relief, you've got our number too. So, but thank you all very much for a super informative webinar today, and you all take care.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.